Well, you've heard a phrase from me for a while now, which is that the Lord is calling us to look different, sound different, feel different, smell different. I don't know what the smell different bit means, but anyway, that sense of a newness. And I shared this initially, funny enough, just before COVID hit. And I mentioned this a few weeks ago as well. But what I want to say is this: whilst this is a word for the season that we are in, I think it's also a reminder that we have always had these seasons throughout the history of our church. That is our story as a people, a story of God moving and his people responding to the call to make Christ known and stewarding the work of his Spirit. And so when we talk about things are going to look different, sound different, smell different, feel different, this isn't about being new for new's sake. Rather, it talks to a kingdom principle. It says in Mark 2:22, "And no one pours new wine into old wineskins. Otherwise, the wine will burst the skins, and both the wine and the wineskins will be ruined. No, they pour new wine into new wineskins." And so what I'm actually talking about when I say that we're going to look different and sound different and feel different and smell different is it's modern vernacular to say God is creating a new wineskin in us. Why? Because as he's done before, he's doing it again in our story. He's pouring new wine into us. And with every story, our story has a beginning. And the beginning of our story starts officially in 1988, when our founding pastors, Chris and Fliss Lane, together with their children, started this church. Here's a photo of Chris and Fliss back in 1988. There you go. What a handsome, beautiful couple they are, right at the front there. They're actually with the Mumfords, John Ellie Mumford on the left there, who went on to, they founded Southwest London Vineyard. And John and Debbie Wright, you'll notice on the far right, who from Southwest then went and planted Trent Vineyard. John and Ellie went on to become the national directors of the Vineyard movement in the UK and Ireland. And John and Debbie are now our current leaders, I think almost 10 years. And this is what they look like now. What a beautiful photo. This was taken about 5-6 years ago when they retired and I took on the leadership of the church. And I want to say we honor them and their family. We honor and recognize the sacrifice and the work they put into his kingdom for his name and for his glory. And we recognize that we continue here to build upon the work that they started. And so we honor them in this moment. So, why did our story start then, back in 1988? Well, because the Lord had laid upon Chris and Fliss's heart to make Christ known to the world around them, to lead a community of believers who would be equipped for the work of the ministry. For everyone to get a chance to walk in their calling so that everyone gets to play, which, as you know, is one of our Vineyard values, every member church. To create a space which wasn't about religious practices, but about relationship with Jesus. That heart was to create a church that looked, sounded, felt, and smelt different than the churches of the day, removing any religious barriers that might exist. They wanted to create a contemporary experience that people could come and encounter Jesus. And you might be interested to know that when we launched in 1988, this is what we looked like. This was our name, Vineyard Christian Fellowship of St Albans. And there's some, if you need to understand, those are some grapes because of the vineyard, of course. I didn't wish to insult your intelligence, sorry, and we all know what that is. But I think this is very apt for the 80s, don't you agree? Over the next 10 years, the church grew as God moved in his people, as he poured wine into these new wineskins that he had created. And so they moved from venue to venue. First from the from that lounge room into a conference room of a hotel, then to a school hall. And when that school hall was too small, another school hall. Each time stewarding the work of the Holy Spirit to make Jesus known. And during this time, the name changed, the look, the feel changed. Look at that, a bit of an evolution. You see where the V starts to be introduced into this. A new wineskin for the new wine that was being poured in. And then in 2006, roughly, we bought this building, a home of our own, as the campaign was called. As it purchased this building, as God created a new wineskin for the wine to be poured into. And soon after, growth came again, and a new version of our name arrived. Look at that. Now, you'll recognize this because it's still around at certain places. I like this V. This is a good V. New wineskin for new wine. And again, in, I believe it was 2015, we purchased next door. And we created those new spaces there. Once again, created a new wineskin. And what happened? The wine flowed. And once again, we responded to look and feel and smell different with this new logo, the Vineyard Church, St Albans. And so what we see throughout our church history is a body of people, his church, responding to the call of God to make Jesus known in a relevant and contemporary way, to create new wineskins, to allow the Holy Spirit to pour in that new wine, recognizing that we are called to steward the work of the Spirit, not by power, not by might, but by what? His Spirit. Our job is to steward that work. And so 35 years later, our story continues, but our mission remains. Last year, I launched a very bold 10-year plan called Reach. Reach is an exciting and ambitious vision to extend our reach beyond what we do to reach the lost, to extend beyond the physical boundaries of this place outside into our community. And so, why? So that people would encounter Jesus. And so how are we delivering on extending our reach to reach the lost? Last year, we launched our new place, our Hatfield site. We launched our new spaces with a brand new 250-seater youth auditorium, a new Ventureland space for our 5 to 11-year-old, 10-year-olds, a new treasure chest ministry for those with special educational needs. We invested heavily in a new wineskin called Online, where we engage with thousands during the month. And then this year, Reach 23, we announced another new place, our Mount site, as we launched that and as we continue to launch new spaces such as Space. These new wineskins to allow His Spirit to move and new wine to be poured out. And so with this new chapter, as it has always been, we will once again look different, sound different, smell different. You get it by now. Another new wineskin moment for the outpouring of new wine. And so this morning I want to announce that as we've done for the past 35 years, we come again to a new name and the next chapter of our story. Why a new name, I hear you ask? It's a good question. Well, because a name is important. A name represents who we are and what we are about. A name means something. In fact, a name is so important that did you know that God has a history of changing people's names? In Genesis 17, we see that the Lord changed Abram's name to Abraham and Sarai's name to Sarah to reflect the new promise, the covenant that he had given to them, that Abraham would be a father of many nations. In Genesis 32:27, God changed Jacob's name to Israel, which means having power with God. In the New Testament, we see Jesus change Simon's name to Peter, which means rock, and Saul to Paul. There are countless examples in the scriptures. Why? Because a name means something. And did you know that you're going to get a new name? Revelation chapter 2, verse 17. It says that Jesus will give you a new name written on a stone that he will give you that only he and you will know. Because he knows you more than anyone else. And why? Because a name means something. It represents who we are. About a year ago, when we launched our Reach Vision, God prompted myself and the leadership of the church to think about our new name. And with our new Reach Vision of creating spaces and places for people to encounter Jesus, new sites, we bumped into challenges with how we were to name our new sites. Currently, our Hatfield site is called the Vineyard Church St Albans, Hatfield, which is a little bit confusing. But this isn't something that we have experienced alone and have had to navigate through. There are many churches within the Vineyard movement in the UK that have bumped into this same issue. And so those churches within our movement that have historically had a geographical-based name, as they've moved into multi-site, have changed their name to a non-geographical name. Aberdeen City Church in Scotland, what a fantastic church. They have almost 9 sites. They changed their name from Aberdeen City Church to Catalyst. And so with the prompting of the Lord, we started on a prayerful and intentional process to select our new name. We worked with Vineyard UK and Ireland on this process, for which they are required to approve the name, which they have done. We worked very closely with our board of trustees as we have gone through this process, our leadership team within our staff and our broader staff team. This has been a year of a prayerful and intentional process as we have responded to this new wine moment. And a couple of months ago, in fact in September, we had our leaders meeting and I shared the name with our leaders then. We also reached out to Chris and Fliss, our founding pastors, and shared our plans with them, for which they were very encouraging and supportive of. So, what is our new name? Would you like to see it? Okay, here it is. This is our new name. Are you ready? New name, next chapter. That's not the name. That would be awfully a lot to say. Here it is. Verso Vineyard Church. Now, you might be wondering what Verso means. Yes, you are, aren't you? Well, I'm sure will be Googling, maybe some of you already are. If you look at how this name is used, it means the turning of a left-hand page, but if you were to look at the root of this word, it's actually a Latin word. It means this. It means to turn towards, and in other languages, verso is used as a word for change and transformation. What a word. You see, verso signifies a turning towards and a process of transformation. And so what better name to speak to what we are all about in our vision? Because as people turn towards Jesus, they are transformed. Families are transformed and communities are transformed. You see, this new wineskin moment is about creating spaces and places for people to encounter Jesus. Because when people to encounter Jesus and when they turn towards him, their lives are transformed. This is this new wineskin moment. You know, our new name and look is extremely versatile. There's exciting new color palette which we'll be using with our new name. It's a name which enables us to move on the multi-site model in a way in which we can't currently do. This is the Verso with the green. This is a green that will be very prominent that you will see throughout the church. This is what our sites will now look like. Verso St Albans, that's this site. Verso Hatfield, Verso the Mount, and heads up, we'll be launching a new site next year, which I'm excited to do as we launch Reach 24. It's a name that enables us to respond to the call to extend our reach to reach the lost. It's a name which enables us to communicate clearly the various ministries that we run. Here's Verso Youth, using that wonderful blue color. Verso Youth, you'll start seeing this, and I'll talk about when we'll be launching this new name. Verso Kids, as well. And Verso Care, formerly known as the Vineyard Care Centre. Verso Care will be the name that we'll be using for all of the amazing work that we do under that ministry. And you'll see, therefore, how Verso is used with those ministries. And there'll be more exciting ministries that we'll be launching with this name as well. From a look and feel perspective, it's also a bold new look to stay relevant and contemporary, which, as I've explained, is a founding principle and value of our church and part of our story. Here's an example of the new brochure where you can expect to see. You'll notice some of these people are part of our body here already. There's Fred and Elizabeth, his wife. There's some of the content you'll see in our welcome bags, joining, serving, connecting. This is the type of look that you'll see being rolled out across all of our sites. Here's an example of the bags that we'll be having for our welcome bags. Find a place where you belong, Verso Vineyard Church. I want to say this. Verso Vineyard Church. It's our next chapter, but it's of the same story. As we've done before, our new name represents what God is calling us to do in this new wineskin moment. It is the same story of a body of believers captured by the mission to make Jesus known. Why? Because when people turn towards Christ, their lives are transformed. So what can you expect? When are we going to be launching our new name? Well, on December the 4th, we will officially change our name to Verso Vineyard Church. Our website on that day will change. Our social media platforms will change. When you walk in on church on Sunday, December the 4th, you'll see teams with new t-shirts sporting our new name and colors. There'll be new signage internally. The external signage would take a while because of planning and permission that we need to get for big signs. And you will also see that the building itself will be updated with our new look and feel as we continue to invest in this amazing facility that God has gifted us. Until then, you'll see on our social media channels, as of this afternoon, posting on our sites and social media channels, the announcement and the news that we are changing our name. So lastly, what questions may you have? I realize this is big news. It's a lot to process. So I've got a mock Q&A here that I put together, questions that you might ask. Here's number one. Are we still part of Vineyard? Absolutely. In fact, I would say that we are more integrated than we ever have been. Heather Ryan, our Compassion and Justice pastor, leads the Compassion and Justice Network for Vineyard UK and Ireland with Daniel Barnes and Stephen, who's a senior pastor there. Edward Carthy, who heads up our youth, kids and young adults, is working very closely with the DTI team for Vineyard UK. Eduardo, our worship pastor, works very closely with Vineyard Worship UK. We are part of the Vineyard and we love them. And it's worth remembering, guys, that whilst we currently call ourselves the Vineyard Church, the truth is we are a Vineyard Church, one of over 250 in the UK, and the Vineyard globally has thousands. We are a vineyard and we are proud of it. Here's another question. What if I have a question mark? That's a very good question. We want to hear from you. If you've got questions, grab one of the pastors. We've been doing this journey for a long time. And I got to say, it's wonderful to be able to share with you guys. And of course, we'll share it in the 11:30 service. But if you have any questions, please ask myself or one of the team. You can email us, office@thevineyardchurch.co.uk. And if we receive questions over the course of the next 4 weeks until we officially launch and change our name, then I will bring them up on the Sunday. Lastly, I want to say this. We live in exciting times. When the world around us is so much darker, which it is, the good news of Jesus is oh so much brighter. Our work has not finished. What was started 35 years ago has not finished. I would say the best is yet to come. Since we launched our Reach Vision last year, did you know that we have grown by over 500 people to our church? We have seen tremendous growth across all of our ministries. We've seen salvations. We've seen healings. God is on the move because he is pouring new wine, and new wine requires a new wineskin. And what we've just tasted these past couple of years with our Reach Vision is just the start. God is moving powerfully. And I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. And I want to say this, you're not here by accident. God has called you for a reason and for a season to be part of this great story that we find ourselves in. And with that, can I ask you all to stand as I invite the band up?